I'm sharing it. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hope you can see my screen now.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we'll chant the prayers. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Sopadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण
Hare Krishna.
So we were on chapter 9, and I think we discussed elaborately in the first verse and the importance of chapter 9, isn't it? The last week. So we'll try to quickly recap what we discussed, and then we'll go ahead. So this is the first. This chapter says the most confidential knowledge. Yes. So, and then Krishna starts by saying that this is actually very, very confidential, and we'll see how it meant. So, we discussed precisely about the first 6 chapters and the last 6 chapters, the middle chapter, and the middle of the middle is chapter 9 and chapter 10. These are essence of all essences. And in chapter 9, we'll see this again goes same with chapter 7. However, Krishna elaborates more on Kevala Bhakti, is completely towards pure devotional service, right? And then here we discussed in the first verse, we discussed mostly about the Anusuya way, because Arjuna was non-envious, and hence Krishna is going to impart this knowledge onto him. He says, I'll impart the knowledge of Jnanam and Vijnanam Sahitam, knowledge with self-realization, the both, and then which actually elaborate all the knowledge about Lord Krishna in this chapter, right? And the most important thing is that Krishna says, okay, just serve in devotional service, in pure devotional service. So that we will go on and discuss elaborately. And then we discussed about why Krishna chose Arjuna, not others. Like we discussed, see, there were Shishupal, Kansa, Duradhana, everything, and they are all envious of Krishna. As they are envious of Krishna, this knowledge of Krishna is not understandable by those. If we took an example, like if we envy from our teacher, we definitely we won't be able to understand him, isn't it? Because we always in a mode of enviousness, then we won't get anything from him. However, Arjuna was Krishna's pure his friend as well as his pure devotee. So he says, okay, I'm giving this knowledge to you. So how to understand this knowledge? We discussed about understanding Krishna's knowledge by being non-envious to Krishna, because being understanding Krishna's position. In that way, we can be able to understand Krishna's position, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's form as well, right? That was a bit quickly on chapter verse 1. And then Krishna says it's guhyatamam, and we discussed 3 things: is Guhya, Guhyatara, and Guhyatamam. Guhya means confidential or secret. Guhyatara is more confidential, and Guhyatama is the most confidential. So the chapter 9 is the most confidential, though it's openly available for everyone, but it's very, very difficult to understand unless and until we become non-envious towards Krishna. Right? And this knowledge, by understanding this knowledge, what will happen? You will get moksha, you will be released from the miserable material existence. Right? So, and Prabhupada makes a very beautiful purport, and then we went through many important from this purport as well on our last session. And we started text 2. So we'll continue from text 2 again. Text 2, it says, rāja-vidyā, rāja-guhyaṁ, pavitram idam uttamam, pratyakṣāvagamaṁ dharmyam, su-sukham kartum avyayam. So we read this verse in the last week, and it says about 9 qualities, 9 characteristics of this knowledge. What it is? It says this knowledge, king of all education, is rāja-vidyā, and it is rāja-guhyam, means most secret of all secrets. And we understood, like, we definitely we used to keep passwords, isn't it? The phone locks and everything, it's a secret for us. But this book is open, but still it is secret for everyone, because those who are envious, they can't understand this. They can't understand the real essence of this Bhagavad Gita. They can't understand the position of Krishna, right? And then the third, it says, that the purest of knowledge is the pavitram. It is actually pure as well as purifying. It never gets impure. Right? And we have so many, past times in Bhagavad Gita, and we have heard many stories, like, many devotees, they have found Bhagavad Gita lying on the bin, and from the bin they have got Bhagavad Gita and they started reading it, and they have become a devotee. So though it was there in a bin, but still it's purifying. And that's a very nice examples comes a story with Sanatana Goswami, the one devotee of Lord Shiva. He made Sanatana Goswami, in Lord Shiva guided him to go to Vrindavan and meet Sanatana Goswami, and he will give you the essence of everything. And he got Chintamani. So as the person reached, isn't it, and he says, okay, I've been asked by Lord Shiva to come to you, and you will give me some things which actually I can get all the things from this. And he said, okay, in the bin there is a stone, Chintamani. So that Chintamani stone is basically, you touch anything, any iron, and it becomes gold. So, and a devotee, they make a nice drama. He saying, okay, a person actually, he was thinking that my wife needs some gold ornament, so I don't have money and kind of things. And he worshipped Lord Shiva, and then he went to Sanatana Goswami. I mean, cutting the story. And Sanatana Goswami gave this jewel, touchstone. So by touching any of this, any of iron, it becomes gold, right? And then the person thought, okay, if this person has thrown this Chintamani stone into the bin, then definitely this person has something more valuable than this. And then he went back and asked, Sanatana Goswami, I'm sure that you must have something else. And then he picked up his bead bag. He said, yes, I did something else. Because by Chintamani, by getting all this opulence and everything, we have in this material world, it actually binding us. It's not liberating us. And when we take the holy name, associate with the holy name, it actually purifies us. In a similar way, this Bhagavad Gita is purifying us, right? It's the purest knowledge. It purifies us. And then it says, because it gives that perception. So by this knowledge of understanding what Krishna is going to say, how to engage ourselves in devotional service, we get direct perception. And Prabhupada writes, we'll see it. Prabhupada writes in the purport that by chanting the holy name, actually we have seen the changes. We have realized Krishna, right? And how this is the direct way of self-realization. So fourth point, king of all knowledge, secret of all secrets, purest knowledge, and it gives direct perception of self-realization, and it is the perfection of religion, is dharmyam, means, this is the topmost or best religion we can follow, or the perfect religion is basically, as Bhagavatam says, that yato bhakti adokshaje savipumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti adoksaji. So worshipping lotus feet of Lord Hari and ahitya pratyada without any motivation, unmotivated and uninterrupted. They're the real religion of the jiva. Because this Bhagavad Gita teaches us about this jiva, the living entity, which is the soul and not his body. And this body have different religions. I'm born in a Hindu family, so I may call I myself as Hindu, or I'm born in India, so myself I can call myself as Indian. But the real identity of the soul is something different, isn't it? And that's how this knowledge is actually the perfection of all religion. And then what it is, this is everlasting. Just imagine this Bhagavad Gita was not spoken 5,000 years ago, isn't it? Krishna says in chapter 4, it was spoken to Vivaswan, and it is a long, long way back. And Prabhupada gives a long calculation. I don't remember that, a billion trillion years back. And that in that back, this was spoken, and it is always everlasting. And very importantly, devotional service is performed joyfully. Right. So that till that we have discussed last week, and we'll continue reading the Prabhupada's purport. These are very amazing. They're very long purport, but very amazing purports. So we'll try to catch few things from this purport. Right. Okay, so Prabhupada starts saying that this chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the king of education because it is the essence of all doctrine and philosophies explained before. So everything was been explained in this, even in chapter Bhagavad Gita chapter 8 till 8, and these are the essence of everything. And Prabhupada says that among the principal philosophers in India like Gautama, Rishi, Kannada, and Kapila, and others, and finally there is Vyasadeva, the author of Vedanta Sutra. So there is no depth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this ninth chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the studies of Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. We have seen earlier as well, even chapter 8, Krishna says that if you perform devotional service, you get all the merits of performing yajnas, sacrifices, and studying the Vedas, isn't it? And hence, Krishna is going to explore more, or how can we perform this devotional service, which can actually is really confidential to everyone, right? And then in next paragraph, Prabhupada says that generally people are not educated in the confidential knowledge. However, they are educated in external knowledge. And Prabhupada gives some example. He says, there are so many departments in this world, for politics, for sociology, for physics, for chemistry, and for all the things what we know, mathematics, astronomy, etc. However, unfortunately, there is no university or educational institution where the science of spirit soul is instructed. See, isn't it? See, whatever this knowledge are, I'm not saying we should not get this knowledge, but this knowledge are actually of just used when we are in this body. Once this body is gone, this knowledge is already gone. We can't use this anymore. When we take another body, if we take another body of a human being, then we'll again have to go through again school, go to ABCD, read ABCD, go to your primary, secondary, university, and then get the degrees, isn't it? However, that's why it says there is no university where the science of spirit soul is instructed. And Prabhupada mentions very, very efficiently, it says that yet the soul is the most important part of the body. The body only functions because the soul exists. And there is no institute to teach us about the soul, which is very, very important part of this body, isn't it? Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. See, the essence of this body's functioning is the soul, and there is no one teaching about the soul. Though we have so many other departments throughout the world to get study, get things, but that's what Prabhupada says, very starting, that people are not educated in this confidential knowledge, right? Let's see ahead. And then we discussed this part earlier as well about this chapter 2, how this important soul is, how the soul and the body are different, right? How it is, the soul is imperishable, how the body is perishable, and other things. Right, and this, yes, again, Prabhupada says this about purest, how the knowledge is purest. This knowledge is the purest from all activities explained in the Vedic literature. In the Padma Purana, men's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be results of this of sin after sin. I think we have discussed about this verse, especially about this, how this kutam bijam, how the sinful activities work, that we discussed once in our session, right? When we have the sinful reactions, then sinful activity, then we have the tendency to do it more, and it gets fructified, we get the results, and the cycle continues, right? So as the sinful activities continues, we remain in this world. However, he says, therefore, the purifying potency of devotional service is very strong because it uproots the desire to do sinful activities, right? It not just purify, it actually uproots the desire to perform sinful activities. And if there is no sinful activity, then we can perform devotional service. And hence, this is the pavitram or uttamam, the purest. And uttama is transcendental. So tama is ignorance, uttama is transcendental, right? And Prabhupada mentions here, tamas, this material world, and uttama means the transcendental or true material activity, that is spiritual world or transcendental activities. Very important, Prabhupada says the devotional activities are never to be considered material. So serving Krishna's lotus feet, worshipping Krishna, chanting his holy name, studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with the devotees, these can never ever be considered many material, right? So although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men, but still these are not material. We discussed earlier, like we were discussing about the karma, vikarma, and akarma part, right? And that's how performing is same, activities are same. And we discussed earlier many times, like the person dancing in a pub, right, with alcoholic and dancing in the pub, and a person using the same thing, he's dancing intoxicated in the love of God, dancing in the kirtan, completely absorbed in kirtan, dancing restlessly, he's completely sweating as well in the kirtan. But that dancing in front of Lord in kirtana and dancing in a pub, our activities are same, but both are difference, very, very lot difference. This is material, is binding, and that is spiritual, is elevating, right? That's how Prabhupada says that activities remain the same, looks to be same, but these are not considered material. Hearing about Krishna Katha, these are not material. Hearing about this mundane activities, hearing mundane song, that is material. But hearing Krishna Katha, hearing transcendental songs like bhajan and kirtan, Vaishnava songs, these are not material, right? Though activity remain the same, but they are not considered as material things or material activities. And hence Prabhupada said they are all spiritual and devotional. Importantly, they are uncontaminated by material modes of nature, right? See, each lines of Prabhupada's in the purport can be elaborated very nicely. These are uncontaminated. The activities we perform for the service of the Lord, these are uncontaminated by this material modes of nature. And all the other activities, if you see, are actually contaminated by these three modes. All activity we perform are actually somehow or other being controlled by these three modes. But devotional service is uncontaminated by this, right? And Prabhupada says, it is said that the execution of devotional service is so perfect that one can perceive the results directly. That's how Krishna says pratyakṣāvagamaṁ. So you can perceive directly as well. So by performing this, we can perceive the results, we can perceive Krishna's form, we can perceive Krishna's activities, Leela, we can glorify those, right? And that eventually comes up. It's not like, okay, I'll get it today itself, but yeah, it practice and it comes up. And that's what Prabhupada says. This direct result is actually perceived, and we have practical experience that any person who is chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, in course of chanting, without offenses, feels some transcendental pleasure and very quickly becomes purified of all metal contaminations. Sorry. So by chanting a holy name, this is actually been seen. And just imagine, just see this whole world. If you see, Europe, UK, India and Pakistan, as well in US, this the movement of Prabhupada, all the people, especially if you see the Western countries, in India still we have some conception of God and our worshipping Lord. Things are there. At least we go to Janmashtami and follow things. But in the Western world, it's nothing like that, isn't it? They are all mixed of everything. But still, those who took this path of self-realization by giving a Prabhupada, by chanting the holy name, though it is in the Vedic verdict as well, by gradually chanting the holy name, they have all become purified, and they are now qualified Brahmanas serving everywhere, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Just imagine. That's why Prabhupada says we have seen this, and the transformation has already happened. And even Krishna says, Veda Sarvesh Ahmeva Vedyo. So all the Vedas, studying of the Vedas actually is to know Krishna only. And the essence is what? Chanting the holy name, in the Kali Yuga especially. And Mahaprabhu always says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Right? So this I say, this is very, very beautiful purport by Prabhupada, and very long as well, but it's very, very beautiful. And here he says, quoting from Vedanta Sutra 3.2.26, he says that Prakashascha karmani abhyasat. So devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes enlightened without a doubt. So prakashascha, so he get enlightened. So by performing these activities, engaging ourselves in the service of the Lord, what happens? We get enlightened, and there is no doubt in that, right? And Prabhupada quotes example of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, as we know, he was a son of a maid servant, and once these Mahatmas, they were passing, and they stayed there, and his mother served them for 4 months, and Narada Muni used to be engaged in association with those, eating the remnants of their, and hearing the glories of Lord from them, and gradually he started this feeling and chanting the holy name of Lord. And when his mother died, the boy, he thought of what he had heard from these Mahatmas, from the Vedantist, and then he meditated on the Lord, and he could see the Lord for a fraction of seconds, right? And then in the next life, he becomes Narada Muni. He's actually spaceman of the whole world, whole universe. He can travel anywhere, anytime, as his will. So that's how devotional service actually is so potent. Right? Prabhupada quote this whole passage over there. And then here it says, association of the devotees, right? By associating with the sages, Narada got the taste for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And he developed a great desire for devotional service, right? So, see, there are two things, in the path of devotional service. When we associate with the devotees, when we take the holy name, the purification starts happen. And there is one stage called as Nishtha, and then come Ruchi. So Nishtha will come with the association of the devotees. And once we are, sure, okay, now I am engaging myself in these devotional services, then we'll get Ruchi. Ruchi is next. So generally what happens, in general, we say, okay, let me perceive first, and then I will take the path. But it's different. When we take the path, we perceive gradually, right? So definitely, even in mundane things also, we won't get the results first, though we have the vision that, okay, I want to get this. If I'll take the path of engineering, then I'll become an engineer. So the child, or maybe not child, maybe an adult, when he is secondary, he thinks, okay, I'll have to go study this stream, so I'll become a doctor or an engineer or something. So the goal is there, but he has to practice those things, and he achieves later on, depending on his practice. So we can perceive Krishna's form, Krishna's Leela and everything. However, we have to be very much seated in the practice, anishtha, very much firm conviction. Yes, the goal is there. I know where to go, but the path also have to follow, right? So that's how, by following the proper path, we can actually perceive Lord. And that happens by what? By associating with the devotees, by and from them we hear about the glories of chanting and hearing, and we do the same as well, right? So he developed the desire by associating with the devotees. He developed the desire to do perform devotional service, and the result we know that he is got enlightened, and he became a spaceman, and anywhere, everywhere, he can travel. And what he does, he always glorifies the Lord's name only, right? And then Prabhupada talks about the dharmyam. We talked about this path of religion, and where I just Prabhupada quotes again this verse, same verse just we discussed earlier. Savi pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti adhokshare. So the religious people generally do not know the highest perfection of religion is the attainment of devotional service, right? And this also we discussed about this. Krishna says in last verse of chapter 8, Vedesu yagishta pascheva. So by performing devotional service, we actually get all the merits of performing others, like studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, performing austerities, and everything we get it from that. So that's why this process of a devotional service is so potent, right? And yes, su-sukham, it's always performed joyfully. The process of devotional service is very happy once su-sukham, and Prabhupada's question marks why. Let's see why. So devotional service consists of Saranam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So one can simply hear the chanting of the glories of the Lord, or can attain philosophical lectures on transcendental knowledge given by authorized acharya. Simply by sitting, one can learn. Then one can eat the remnants of the food offered to God, nice palatable dishes. In every state, devotional service is joyful. One can execute devotional service even in the most poverty-stricken condition. How? Lord says, patram pushpam phalam toyam. Lord Krishna is ready to accept any kind of offering, never mind whatever it is, even a leaf, a flower, a bit of fruit, or a little water, which you can get everywhere, isn't it? So just by offering this to Lord becomes pleased, and the person also become pleased with that, right? So God accepts only the love with which things are offered to him, and Krishna says very clearly that what he accepts very easily. So patram pushpam phalam toyam. And the devotional service, just a couple of days back, actually, I was talking to my daughter and my wife. See, in 2 weeks time, we just in a couple of weeks back, we have Nityananda Triyodashi, and then in a couple of more weeks coming, we have Gaur Purnima. And then I was saying this, looking at the calendars, in the next month we have Nrsimha Chaturdashi, and the next month we have something like that, and goes on throughout the year. Then we have Radha-Ashtami, and then we have Janmashtami, and then we have Rath Yatra. So every month there is an opportunity to associate with the devotees, do a lot of kirtan, dance with the kirtan, and then have prasadam, right? Every and if you see, Prabhupada has made a very nice system in the ISKCON society that every Sunday in all ISKCON temple there is a prasadam, and a class lecture happens and kirtan happens. That's called as love feast. In India, mostly we call it love feast. So there's a feast of love for Godhead, right? You come there, enjoy, hear the class, hear the lecture, associate with the devotees, and then dance in the kirtan, and then have the feast, right? So it's always joyful. Every Sunday you are almost welcome to associate in the mood of dancing, chanting, and feasting. So Prabhupada says chanting, dancing, and feasting. Chant the holy name, dance in the holy name, and do feasting, right? So all are transcendental, as we discussed earlier. Okay. And another point about existing, he says ever existing. It is said that this devotional service is eternally existing, because we perform these activities here, and then when we get liberated, when we go to the Vaikuntha Loka or Golok Vrindavan or others, special planets, we again engage ourselves in those, and we that's why it's called as eternally existing. Even in this spiritual world, we serve Krishna, right? All right. Okay, so that's this chapter in this purport. So in the last about religion, it says is the purest form of religion, and it is executed joyfully without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it, isn't it? Right. I'll repeat. I read from here actually. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. It's not easy to understand what God is, who God is. So thus the process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidence and knowledge. It is the purest form of religion, and it can be executed joyfully without any difficulty. Therefore, one should accept or adopt it. There is, I mean, this very, very clearly Prabhupada says what should be done, isn't it? I think we have discussed elaborately about this text 2 and text 1. And text 3, we'll start it. Let's see if we can cover today. Otherwise, we'll do it on Friday. But this is very important chapter, so I'm going a bit slow and focusing more on purpose of Prabhupada. As in the first verse, we have seen Anushuye, Arjuna is non-envious of Krishna. So Krishna is saying that yeah, I'll give this knowledge to you. In a similar way, this third verse says about who cannot understand Krishna. Right. Okay, let's read the verse and then we'll start. See. Ashraddhya
Ashraddhya
dhanaha
dhanaha
purushaha
purushaha
dharmasyasya
dharmasya
parantapa
parantapa
aprapya
aprapya
mam
mam
nivartante
nirvantante
mrityu
mrityu
samsara
samsara
vartamani
vartamani
ashraddhana purusha
ashraddhanam purusha
dharmasyasya parantapa
dharmasya parantapa
aprapya mani vartante
aprapya mam nirvantante
mrityu samachara vartmani
mrityu samsara vartmani
mrityu samsara vartmani.
mrityu samsara vartmani.
Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. If you remember text 4.9, chapter 4, text 9, where Krishna says that by understanding or by knowing my the appearance and activities, my transcendental activities and all appearance, the one will come back to my abode, and from there is no comeback, isn't it? And here Krishna is saying that the one who is faithless, what happens? He come back to this material world. He is remain in this path of birth and death, right? So becoming non-envious to Krishna, we can pursue the path. And once we are faithless or who are not faithful in this path, they cannot attain Krishna. See, if you remember chapter 7, this takes many times Krishna says that no, the worshipper of the devatas, they get their destination as well. And even when they worship, the faith is already given by me itself, right? So faith is very, very important. And here Krishna is claiming that those who are not faithful in this devotional service, they cannot attain me. So Krishna says that, if you go to any devatas loka, at the end you will come back again. But if you come to me, there is no coming back. Right. And even in text 9, it says the same thing. Like janma karma chame divyam evam yuvadi tatvatah tvekta deham punarjanmaneti mamil sarjuna. So Krishna is saying in chapter text 9 as well that anyone who knows my transcendental nature of appearance and activities, by giving up this body, they do not come back to here. So what happens? How do we know him? When we have faith in him, right? So Krishna says in the very first verse is here as well. Is it 9th verse? If you see the first one, even in chapter 7, Krishna says, Maya Shakta Mana Partha Yogam Yujamadashraya Asam Shema Samagramam Yatagya Sajtakshun. So here, hearing about Krishna glories, understanding about Krishna, we do the same thing. And here Krishna says in the first verse as well that you are never envious of me, so I shall impart this to you, this most confident knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved from all miseries of material existence. And actually, at the end, we'll see, we'll come back to Krishna, right? So, let me go back to text 3. Okay, so ashraddha, so faithless is actually a hindrance as well in the path of devotional service. So if we are not faithful toward Krishna, toward devotional service, it's become impossible to attain Krishna, right? So therefore, what happened if you don't attain Krishna? They have to return to this path of birth and death in this material world, right? What's the time? 45. Okay, I think we'll stop here and we'll elaborate this purport or discussion in our Friday session, next session, begin Friday. Anyone have any quick questions or thoughts? Please let me know. Okay, so we'll stop here and then we'll chant our bhajan of this day today. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Jai.